despite spending decades making people laugh. Matthew Perry's last years were more comparable to a tragic Hollywood movie than a sitcom. Reports now indicate that the adored Friends star took 27 doses of ketamine in the days preceding his tragic death, a startling discovery that has shocked both fans and medical experts. Did those around him fail to prevent him from dying from an overdose? Or was this a desperate attempt to fight his lifelong demons? With well-known medical professionals, covert therapies, and a medication with psychedelic properties, Perry's last days leave more questions than answers. How did a man who appeared to be recovering become embroiled in a medical scandal? Perhaps the reason for his death is even more tragic than we thought. Although Matthew Perry was born in Williamstown, Massachusetts, on August 19, 1969, his parents divorced when he was still a baby, and he spent much of his childhood in Ottawa, Canada. His mother, Suzanne Morrison, was a Canadian journalist who worked as the press secretary for former Canadian Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, and his father, John Bennett Perry, was an American actor and model. Early life and family. Parents: actor John Bennett Perry, father, has starred in a number of TV series and advertisements. Mother Suzanne Morrison is a political aide and journalist. Stepfather, Keith Morrison, a well-known journalist and correspondent for Dateline NBC. Siblings: Matthew Perry was an only child for his parents' marriage, but has multiple half-siblings from his father's and mother's later marriages. After his parents' divorce, Perry moved to Ottawa, where he grew up and developed a love for tennis, even ranking as a top junior player in Canada before shifting his focus to acting. He later traveled to Los Angeles as a teenager to live with his father and pursue an entertainment career, residences, and property. Matthew Perry owned numerous luxurious houses during his life, but one of his most famous homes was a $20 million penthouse in Los Angeles with spectacular views of the city. In addition, he owned additional upscale real estate holdings that demonstrated success in Hollywood, including a beach property in Malibu that he sold in 2021. Perry disclosed in his memoir Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing that his enormous homes frequently felt empty, despite his fame and wealth. Perry also frequently talked about his battles with addiction and loneliness. His goal was to establish a sober living center for those struggling with addiction. On October 28, 2023, Matthew Perry, the adored actor who was most famous for playing Chandler Bing on the classic sitcom Friends, sadly passed away. His sudden passing at the age of 54 stunned admirers all across the world and illuminated the more sinister sides of celebrity, addiction, and the demands of the film industry. Matthew Perry, A Hollywood Tragedy, is a recent documentary that explores the events surrounding his death and provides shocking insights about his last days. Allegedly, you have Dr. Salvador Placencia providing ketamine to a live-in assistant who has no medical training whatsoever, and that live-in assistant is administering ketamine to a person whose risk factors are through the roof, says Martin Estrada, the former United States Attorney for the state of California Central District who launched the investigation into Perry's death. In the documentary, a trained doctor like Dr. Placencia knew much better, Estrada continues. One of the overall themes of our indictment is that all these defendants should have known better. They were taking advantage of an individual and letting their greed lead them to risk Mr. Perry's life. It was then that Perry experienced an adverse reaction to the drug, and although prosecutors claim Placencia saw Perry freeze up, Estrada claims the doctor did nothing about this. The battle of a star behind the scenes. Millions of people enjoyed Perry's portrayal of the witty and sardonic Chandler, but his own life was tainted by battles with addiction. He fought substance misuse for more than 20 years, despite his career success, and he talked candidly about it in interviews in his memoir, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. His openness was intended to support those going through similar struggles, but also brought attention to the addiction's unrelenting hold. The shocking revelation: 27 shots of ketamine. In the 3 days before his death, Perry was given 27 doses of ketamine, according to the documentary. Ketamine, originally developed as an anesthetic, has found use in treating depression and anxiety in controlled medical settings. Misuse of it, however, can result in serious health hazards, such as cardiovascular problems and respiratory depression. The high number of dosages delivered to Perry raises worrisome questions about the conditions and personnel engaged in his care. the participants in a tragic story. Several individuals have been implicated in the events leading to Perry's death. Dr. Salvador Plasencia, accused of providing ketamine illegally. Dr. Plasencia allegedly continued administering the drug despite recognizing the risks. He has entered not guilty pleas to a number of charges, including document falsification and distribution. Kenneth Iwamasa, Perry's live-in helper, acknowledged giving out some of the ketamine doses. He has pled guilty to his involvement, acknowledging his lack of medical training and the dangers posed. Dr. Chavez, another physician involved in the case, entered a guilty plea to conspiracy to distribute ketamine. His behavior serves as a reminder of the moral transgressions that can happen when doctors take advantage of weaker patients. Jasveen Sangha, known as the ketamine queen, Sangha is alleged to have been a supplier in the distribution network. She awaits trial, with prosecutors highlighting the need to hold such persons accountable for exploiting those battling with addiction. The failure of a system, abuse of the weak. The fact that medical personnel were involved in Perry's death highlights a troubling pattern in which people entrusted with patient care take advantage of them. The investigation's lead investigator, former U.S. Attorney Martin Estrada, stressed that the defendants intentionally exploited Perry's addiction for financial advantage. Such behavior exposes structural problems in the medical community in addition to betraying the trust that is a part of the doctor-patient relationship. Reaction to the documentary: a mixed bag. The goal of Matthew Perry, A Hollywood Tragedy, is to provide insight into the actor's last days and the circumstances surrounding his passing. However, the documentary has faced criticism for its execution. It mostly uses B-roll and paparazzi footage and does not include interviews with Perry's family or main Friends co-stars. Critics claim that it provides very little in the way of in-depth reporting, and that director Robert Palumbo was unable to land important interviews. The film has been described as an unfinished expose, lacking new revelations and providing a sloppy tribute to the late actor. The aftermath: seeking justice and accountability. In the wake of Perry's death, legal proceedings have been initiated against those implicated. 3 of the defendants have pleaded guilty and are cooperating with authorities, while others await trial. These proceedings aim to hold accountable those who exploited Perry's vulnerabilities, emphasizing the importance of protecting individuals struggling with addiction from predatory practices. A legacy remembered. Despite the tragic circumstances of his death, Matthew Perry's legacy as a talented actor and advocate for addiction recovery remains. His portrayal of Chandler Bing continues to bring joy to audiences worldwide, and his openness about his struggles has inspired many to seek help. The revelations surrounding his death serve as a stark reminder of the challenges faced by those battling addiction and the responsibility of caregivers to provide ethical and compassionate support. Matthew Perry's untimely death highlights the complex interplay between fame, addiction, and the responsibilities of those entrusted with care. The shocking revelation of 27 ketamine doses administered in his final days underscores the potential for exploitation when vulnerabilities are not safeguarded. As legal proceedings continue, it is imperative to reflect on the systemic changes needed to protect individuals struggling with addiction and to honor Perry's legacy by advocating for ethical practices within the medical community. Matthew Perry's tragic death serves as a heartbreaking reminder of the complexities of addiction, mental health, and the responsibilities of those entrusted with care. While his legacy as Chandler Bing will forever bring joy to millions, the circumstances surrounding his final days demand deeper scrutiny. How did a man who fought so hard for sobriety end up caught in a web of excessive treatment and questionable medical decisions? The revelations about his ketamine use raise urgent questions about prescription drug safety and the ethical responsibilities of healthcare providers. As investigations continue and justice is sought, one thing is clear: this should be a wake-up call. If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction or mental health challenges, don't wait. Seek help, ask questions, and advocate for responsible care. Let's honor Matthew Perry's memory by fostering real conversations and supporting those who need it most. Share your thoughts. Do you think more should be done to regulate treatments like ketamine?